Getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Weekend Warriors Summer Shootout Series. This is round number 5 of this season, coming to you today from VIR. My name is Ron Maunz, back from the Witness Protection Program, and alongside me, working with me here in the commentary booth today is Charles Boshell. Charles, it's been a while since we did a Weekend Warriors broadcast together, doubly so with the Spec Racer Ford race at VIR, but we know this combination very, very well, don't we? It is a stunner of a combination. It's always a whole lot of fun, and I think this is a perfect way to bring back these SRFs after a brief time away.
Yeah, absolutely, Ryan, and glad to have you back in here as we'll send some well wishes out to Josh having some issues today. We hope he gets to feeling better. But yeah, second time through the car rotation here for the summer series, and what a great car track combo with the Spec Racer and VIR. This is a sports car. This is a sports car track. It's designed for sports car racing, and so what better car to bring here than the Spec Racer? These cars are going to work real hard through some of these technical sections, and then we've got those two long straightaways, and then this is the not so straightaway, but they're going to carry a lot of speed through here as well, and that draft is going to build, and that's going to make these it's going to make some of these corners really challenging today.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a challenge for these drivers, and to those who may be wondering exactly what the format is, same usual format that we had in the Spec Racer Florida Weekend Warriors 20-minute long qualifying session that we are currently in the midst of right about now, heading off into a 40-minute long race with pit stops a little bit later on here. I want to thank you all for tuning into the action on Slow Motion Broadcasting as always. Before we get too lost up in this qualifying session with Adrian Borowski currently holding on to the pole right now, we do want to thank Raceway for sponsoring this season here of Spec Racer Florida Weekend Warriors action. Real-time driver coaching on iRacing. Visit racevoicellc.com for more information. I want to thank Raceway for sponsoring this action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. And now we can get our way off into the meat and potatoes of this fifth round of the championship. Already rapidly closing in on the halfway mark of this season. Time flies when you're having fun. So Charles, I think this may be a little bit important for us to take a look at. Let's run through our championship standings. I'll let you get things started off here by taking a look at Spec 1.
Yeah, let's bring in our championship standings, and we'll look at Spec 1, where it's Nate Schramm leading with 362 points, 50 points ahead of Jason Green. They're running in second, but then you see very, very tight, 9 points separating second through fourth with Jason Green, Tortolo, and Adrian Borowski, your top four. Josh Justice comes in P5, and then he's got a battle behind him with Andrew Moran, who's had some good races here over the past couple of weeks. So we'll see if these change, but Schramm showing himself to be quite the all-around driver, has done well, hasn't won any races this season, but has finished on, I think, in the top 5 for every one. So consistency paying off for Schramm as we move over to Spec 2. We'll take a look at that, and we're talking about how tight it was there. Look at this, 1 point between Dan Wood and Steven Saunders for Spec 2 championship lead, with Jason Grider only 13 points back in third. Adam Bradshaw, Phil Berry, Dustin Diaz, you see there is your top 6. Paul Jackson, Michelle Lynn, Hugh Simpkins, Dennis Fury, and Joaquin Osbeck, who's struggled a little bit. He's had some good races, but really hasn't had the results to really put out there. And let's move over to the good old Masters class. Our aged wonders here as we look, and Rich Meesters currently leads with 253. It's about 15 points ahead of Jim Brewster, who's having a good season. Wubker there, Jeff Wubker in third, Tom Gradwell, Alan DeGassis, Brad Cathcart, Andrew Love, Stevie Ray, Nick Tello, and Wayne Buttermore, your top 10. So still lots to play for. We're only a third of a way through the season, so we've got 2 more rotations through this car group. Starting today with the Spec Racer, and it's just going to flip around because we've seen some drivers excelling with some cars and not so good with the other ones. And but last week that MX5 race at CTMP was an absolute classic. Such fun to watch those guys out there racing, and it was just a blast.
Yeah, it's an absolute blast for sure, and looking forward to seeing what things may have in store here today. As still going through the motions here in qualifying, Tortello just jumped up to the pole position. We know Tor to be a star in the Formula V ranks here. In fact, is the reigning champion of the Weekend Warriors Formula V series. So we know that he's quick in these cars that are a little bit slower, have a stronger draft, and although the Formula V and Spec Racer Ford are a little bit apart when it comes to the way they look, in terms of the way they drive, pretty solid dynamics for the both of them. So Tor certainly looking to flex his muscles right there in the, I'm not going to say the company name, you can see it right there. I'll say the company name when they want to give us money, all right? That's right. The way that works there. That's rule number 1 of broadcasting. Columbia School of Broadcasting will teach you that, as Adrian Borowski going to jump up there, and another interesting looking race car. They're a bit more simple, elegant. We like it a lot. I do want to say we've got 2 new drivers running here in this series for this event. It's James Pepper, our current. He's being marked as a Spec 2 driver here. I'll look through, see whether the information that was given me to me is 100% accurate. It should be in the 628 car is actually being marked as the 28 here, but he is a Spec 2 racer from what we were told, so you can take that as maybe beginner's luck. He's actually the son of Steve Pepper, who's been running quite well here in this championship this season. The other driver, not actually out there yet, is the other Masters man of Carl Burke in the 945 car, so keep an eye on those drivers as we go throughout this. Already halfway through this qualifying session, and now, Charles, we've covered these Spec Racer Fords long enough to know that even though it's a good storyline whenever we see a driver jump up to the top like Dirk Braun did a couple of moments ago, it's all null and void at the current moment. Number one, because the racing is going to be insane later on here, so the pole is going to be, I wouldn't say meaningless, but it's definitely just going to be a simple case of bragging rights. But we know these Spec Racer Fords, you can't change the fuel load in them, so these qualifying times are going to get quicker and quicker and quicker. So halfway through, it's good to have the pole at the halfway mark, but you really want to have it come time for the 20-minute mark.
You absolutely do, as things will change in the late stages here of qualifying. As we'll get somebody on a heater or catch a draft off of a car just at the right time, and throw in a really good lap. So good that Dirk is up there on the pole in his Dirky Stickles machine there, the 52. But yeah, as you said, still 8 minutes or so left to go, plus overtime since we're in an open qualifying session. So still lots to play for out there. And for this track, I think maybe qualifying it means a little more, because obviously we've talked about this track before, and there's a couple of pitfalls. Obviously, turn 1 is just, for whatever reason, just confounds me to no end, and it doesn't matter what car I'm in. But just the way that corner lays out. You're at the end of that long straightaway, 3,000 foot long front straight. That's just getting that draft built up in these cars, and then you get down to turn 1, and it's a strange kind of off camber, corner that now you got cars on your inside, maybe some cars on the outside, and it's just a really hard line to get nailed down. And it just always seems to cause trouble. I think we've seen some graphics glitches as well. We have a car that basically rode on its own 2 wheels for several yards there at one race. So it's one of those that it's turn 1. Now you're looking at the roller coaster section there, and Adam Bradshaw Jr. completely missing the corner, taking his run down through the grass to get down to hog pen, and that is another spot. Got to make sure you don't hit those Marshall posts there. But another spot where there's just fraught with danger, especially at the end of those long straightaways, and that's another place that we're going to see some calamity. Just we don't know how much yet, but there will be some action in those 2 corners for sure.
Yeah, really picking which sections of this racetrack are going to be the ones where drama just so happens to take place is it's like trying to reach into a small little tank full of a bunch of crabs. You're bound to get bit at some point in time. So that's pretty much what we've got in store here today. As I want to give some love to Marcel and Alexander Gorson. They're currently qualified in 14th and 19th out there on the racetrack. Said some very kind words about us here on SMB after, I believe it was last week's broadcast here. I will say our esteemed buddy, Mr. Joshua Wilkie, which before I go on and dog on him, which Joshua had some problems with his back at the moment, and as somebody who's had back pain for the better part of about 3 years now, I know that is nothing that you ever want to wish upon anybody. So certainly wishing Josh the best, but he does have a bit of a tendency to call them the other Grosjean brothers. So we will see the Gorisons out there on the racetrack right now. Fun little fact actually about Romain Grosjean. Considering I got really, really into F1 right as Haas made their debut in F1 back in 2016, my dad had little bit where he would call Roman Grosjean just Salad Man based off the lettuce. So there's a good little bit of information for you as we'll ping pong throughout the field as Nate Schramm jumps up to the top. And look at our old pal, Mr. Guido Fox Marzuki. Guido able to flex his muscles there in the Team Genetto car, currently qualified in 9th at the moment there. So it's nice to see Guido out there on the racetrack in the Spec Racing Fords instead of shouting in our ears here on these broadcasts.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's been fun to watch Guido out there. As I talked to him as this season came up, and we just kind of chit chatting, and I asked him about the other cars. Obviously, very, very good in the Formula V's, and he said, "Yeah, I don't really run these enough, but I'm going to run them this season, and we'll see how it goes." And he's had some good results this season. So obviously, it didn't have the greatest race last week. I think he got caught out early, but yeah, he's having some good runs, and the Gorsons there. I kind of shouted out Marcel because he had I think he won the Spec 2 class last week, and when we first saw him, we saw Alexander come in, and Alexander was just on it from the get go. Marcel, when he first came on, struggled a bit, but he's really, really improved his racecraft, and it showed a lot last week. And looks like it's showing a little bit today as well, as he's up there, I think, in P4 in the Spec 2 class. So not out of the woods. You can see the lap times there, the gaps between the cars, basically nothing between these. Schramm with a 0.3 of a second gap over Tortolo, but then it's 500ths and then another 1400. So it's pretty tight racing, and I think that's what we should expect today. Is we're going to see probably a big pack for a good part of the race up at the front of the field, and we'll see that long snake as we work our way through the S's and up the hill here today for several laps. I feel pretty sure about that.
And, talking about the kind of race we may have in store, many of these drivers, I wouldn't say know this track like the back of their hand, but when you think of Weekend Warriors racing, you do think about a lot of the American sports car tracks. And when you think of American sports car tracks, you think of VIR. It hosted the STCA National Championship runoffs a couple of years ago. Of course, IMSA runs here every single year. And it's a track with a fascinating amount of history thrown into the midst as well. I usually talk about how the track was, for a decent period of time, actually abandoned. It was just converted over to a chicken farm and from a racetrack, and then they bought it back from the chicken farmers and turned it back into a racetrack. And it's maintained pretty much the exact same layout since the track was built way back in the 50s. So it is a fantastic facility here, one that I have not gotten the opportunity to visit in real life myself. However, I think I do want to take that trip at some point farther down the line. But these drivers, they know it very, very well. They know how to run a Spec Racer Ford car here. That's part of the reason why qualifying at the moment is still very tight. We can now really talk about how representative these lap times are. Nate Schramm holding on to that top time right now. But you look, the largest gap, that you have to go all the way back to the gap between Daniel Wood and Tom Gradwell to find a gap over a half a second, which I know the Weekend Warriors is competitive. Trust me, Charles and I have been covering this racing long enough to know how competitive these drivers are. But to see it even like this is insane.
Yeah, it is really, really tight. And it's this is a fantastic track, and I'm with you. I haven't been here yet. I think in the year of the great pandemic, 2020, I think my plan before that all happened was to go to Watkins for the 6 hours of the Glen. That was kind of what I had penciled in. That went by the wayside, and then my alternate was VIR, and then that went by the wayside for whatever reason. So didn't quite work out, but we'll get back there eventually. I do want to see this place up close. Maybe actually go up there and maybe take a car around for a lap or two just to kind of feel this. Obviously, 3.7 miles of racetrack, virtually unchanged from the 50s. They've ran everything here. And then you've talked about another 130 feet of elevation changes through the track. And that adds a lot of complexity here. So that's one of those that is on my bucket list as well. So we'll get there eventually, Ron, and we'll get a chance to watch some racing here up close and personal as we're winding down here with the qualifying session. almost over here. So as these cars come around, they'll get the checkered flag for a few. If they're within the 10 seconds of the start-finish line, they might get another lap. But it's going to be quickly closing down here as these cars come down to take the checkered flag, and there it is. That will be the last for those, as you see the checkered flag coming out. So looks like as of right now, we do have a couple of cars still on track, but Nate Schramm currently sitting on pole 203.851.
I think it was a gap between like just pretty much the width of a singular mosquito hair between Jason Chen taking the green or the checkered there at the very end. Adam Bradshaw, senior that is, qualifying up into 16th there. That was a good lap time from him right as we got towards the end of this session, as we'll look behind to see who else may be on track to set a good quick time here right towards the end. Rich Meesters looks like he's tracking all right here at the moment. Was green in the first sector and then yellow throughout most of the mid portion of the lap. We'll see what he can do. Nate Schramm, he's out there on the racetrack, but he's the hole punch to Dirk Braun. This could be a good little jump here from Dirk. If he can get a good draft, you can see yellow, yellow, green, yellow, yellow. They're both coming down pit lane, so you could take that and throw it into a wood chipper, what I was talking about there. Meester's coming across the line. Will we see an improvement from him? Your current Masters pole sitter, will he try and grow on that cushion? Qualified 14th on the road right now. Had no draft assistance, and I believe did improve on his lap time, just did not improve in position. Trying to look to see if anybody will be able to improve. Jason Green, he's there. I'm not really sure what else I can say about that. James Pepper, he's heading his way onto the back straightaway right now. Guido Marzuki, he just pulled it into the pits. Yes, he did. Meester's still puttering around the racetrack. Jason Shen will be the final driver that we see set a qualifying time. I believe he did make it across the stripe in time. Not going to see a competitive lap time from him, which is a little bit upsetting. He joined the qualifying session somewhat late, so this is only his 5th lap that he's on right now. And again, talking about the pace and the key to qualifying here in these Spec Racer Fords is you've just got to be out there running laps, constantly running. Otherwise, you're not going to really be able to get a good lap time in. So James Pepper will be the last car out there on the racetrack, but not a representative lap time from him. So it's going to be Nathaniel Schramm starting this race from the pole position. Tortello will make up your front row alongside him, waiting for this qualifying session to fully draw to a conclusion. We've got some stragglers out there on the racetrack currently. Rich Meesters, I believe he's been abducted by a UFO. Adam Bradshaw may have been abducted as well. Hey, it wouldn't be a broadcast with me if we didn't see some alien activity, but really competitive qualifying session there. The entire field, no gap any larger than 9/10 of a second.
Yeah, it's pretty tight, and it's going to make for some really good racing here today, I believe. But also, once again, it invites the opportunity for some calamity in the early going until everybody gets settled in. But we'll see how it goes here as we're going to wrap over here to the race session as qualifying is finishing up now, and it is now finished. So we should be coming over here. We'll get our racing grid, starting grid pulled up, and if you don't mind, Ron, I'll go through that real quick as soon as it's ready to go. And finally, here it is.
WD-40.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll keep that on hand just in case. Nate Schramm, your pole sitter for today, 203.851. Tortello on the outside of row 1. Dirk Braun will start in P3. Adrian Borowski starts in 4th. Andrew Moran will start in P5. James Pepper starting in 6th. Our Spec 2 pole sitter had a great run there. Josh Justice starting in 7th. Jason Green starts in 8th. Alexander Gorson starting in P9. Kane Lasky starts in 10th. Marcel Gorson starting in 11th, and Guido Marzuki starts in P12. Adam Bradshaw starts in 13th. Rich Meesters in 14th. Steve Saunders starting in 15th, and I should say Rich Meesters is our Masters pole sitter. Adam Bradshaw starting in 16th. Jason Dunnington 17th. 18th is Jeff Wubker. 19th is the boss man Stevie Ray. Phil Berry starting in P20. Steve Pepper starts in 21st. Dan Wood starting in 22nd. Tom Gradwell 23rd. Jason Chin starting in 24th. And Paul Jackson 25th. And rounding out our grid, Carl Burke will start in P26. And there is our 26 car starting lineup.
And there we go. You got through all of them before we even had a single car roll here on this shortened pace lap before we get the green flag. And once again, I want to thank you all for tuning into the action on Slow Motion Broadcasting here today. Charles, Spec Racer Fords and VIR, it's a match made in heaven to drive. It's a match made in heaven to race. But as you alluded to a little bit earlier on, the chance of a little bit of calamity coming out is very, very, very high above zero.
Yeah, I would say that is absolutely true, especially in the early going. Once everybody gets the tires warm, the brakes warm, and settled down, I think we're going to be in for some good racing. You're going to see lots of draft packs. You're going to see people taking advantage of that draft in these cars, both on the front straight and on the back straight. And we're going to end up probably with a nice size group up the front. We'll get into our fuel save mode mid-race before pit cycles go through, and then we'll end up see how it all shakes out to the end, and who's going to come out on top today. But obviously we got some really dynamic drivers up at the front of the field, so looking forward to getting this race underway.
Yeah, now taking a quick look at today's weather forecast. Hot tamale, 86 degrees Fahrenheit for the ambient temperature, 113 degrees for the track temp. My usual metric is, would you feel comfortable walking around this racetrack barefoot? Probably not, because there's about 30 Spec Racer Fords that are about to get the green flag here. So, that's just my personal preference. I don't want to play Frogger with a very quick door wedge, but that's just me. Waiting for the green flag to fly here as that pace car pulls its way down in pit lane. It's Nate Schramm and Tortello leading us to green as the green flag comes out early, and the drivers are on their way as he doesn't even have to move a muscle for that flag to start waving. Nathaniel Schramm doesn't really need to move a muscle to try and hold on to this top spot. Dirk Braun, though, trying to punch out there on the inside line, heading his way into turn number 1. Tortello gonna try and rip the rim on the high side, be out there on the outside with the Trailer Park Girls trying to make anything work there. He's gonna be able to hold on to a P3 spot, but nothing more than that. As you look at side-by-side racing throughout the field, including some battling there with one of the Gorsons. That's Alexander Gorson holding on to that spot, trying to look for a little bit more. It's Nate Schramm leading through the first series of turns.
A good start to the race. They had a couple of cars move up, a couple of cars slide down just a couple of spots, but no incidents, and we're well underway, and here comes the snake up the hill.
Here we go. This is going to be dicey. This is going to be feisty. This could be where drama could break out. I am sure of it. Keeping our eye on Gorson, Alexander Gorson. He's trying to tackle James Pepper right up in front as he's still feeling some pressure from Jason Green, JG2 there, running in multiple different series here on SMB, here in the Spec Racer Fords. And you'll be able to catch him a little bit later on this week there in the F3s for the Sim Racers group, as we still have a little bit of shuffling going on farther behind. I think Jeff Wubker has had a moment out there on the racetrack. He's been able to recover, however, losing out on a couple of spots, finds himself in 20th at the current moment. As you have seen a bit of a breakaway, your top 5 of Nate Schramm, Dirk Braun, Tortello, Andrew Moran, Adrian Boraski, and Josh Justice, sorry, that makes it 6th, have been able to break away. We got 3 wide racing farther behind, and side by side, 2x2 pack heading our way down at the end of that straightaway. Dirk Braun getting the move done. Tortello slipping his way up into 2nd. Nathaniel Schramm now back down in 3rd.
Yes, Jason Green's taking over the top spot there in that 2nd pack, and so he's going to lead those guys back. See if they can close that gap down just a little bit. We're going to make this pack a little bit bigger in the front, but good run there. Just taking the run and making it work. Braun and Tello getting by Schramm. I'm sure he will be looking to see if he can get back by as soon as he can, but now Tello to the inside, going to try and take the lead.
Yeah, and Tortello looking for it down the inside, has some extra pressure with Andrew Moran trying to get this spot here as well. This is where things get dicey. I talked about it a little bit earlier on here in this broadcast. Things can go awry if you go side by side through this section and you don't have good, smart drivers behind the wheel. The benefit is we've got good, smart drivers behind the wheel, so they can go through there side by side with only a slight trouser accident. Andrew Moran tried to go for a move on Dirk Braun, nearly got overtaken by Adrian Boraski in the process there, and the number 13 car may have the unlucky number, but looking for some luck to push its way up into the podium.
Yeah, absolutely. As you can see there on the screen, that a little bit of fighting up at the front of the field has now allowed that second group to catch up, and it's allowed the third group to catch up as well. So now you've got 12 cars on that lead train.
Yeah, so big little pack that we have at the front of the field. Quickly, before the things get dicey, I want to touch on this. Mr. Guido Marzuki has had some sort of off-track excursion. Here it was, side-by-side battling, heading off into turn number 1, and unfortunately, just going to spin at nothing right behind there. The laziest bit of contact. Rich Meesters there in the 964 car running into him. Thankfully for either driver, didn't result in a major amount of damage, but certainly resulted in a major amount of time loss there from Guido. He's back of the pack, shotgun of the field, last and 25th as it stands right now. Moran and Tullo side by side, heading our way into turn number 13 as Dirk Braun and Adrian Boraski also look to squabble as well. Moran gonna get that spot. He holds on to the race lead. Jason Green still finding himself in the midst of a battle. He does have the Durkee's Dickles logo there, so we can say that he's in a bit of a pickle.
Yeah, he absolutely can, as he has got a little bit of a logo ad there on his car, normally the green and black spec racer, but adding the Durkee's Dickle logo, that's very cool. Dirk has really been wonderful to sponsor some of the events here. As we see him 2 and 3 wide going down into turn 1. As a battle a little behind with Adam Bradshaw and Kane Lasky, Marcel Gorson there in the P10. I think we've got an issue with Kane, as I think he's already towed back to the pits. So wonder what happened there. And just kind of going back to that Guido spin, kind of looked like maybe a diff lock, maybe shifted down into first, and just kind of caused the car to spin as he was trying to enter turn 1, as the crowd kind of got bunched up there. But we'll let Ryan see if he can get a replay there, or if we're not going to be able to pick that up. But Tortello now up in the lead, Moran in second, Dirk Braun running in third, Borowski in fourth, Nate Schramm running in P5, Josh Justice P6, Alexander Gorston P7, Jason Green in 8th, James Pepper in 9th. That is your 9-car train at the front of the field. A little bit of a gap has opened up, and it's growing a little bit more with Adam Bradshaw in that second group. He's got Marcel Gorson and Steve Saunders, Jason Chin with him, as Jason Chin is already up 11 positions. So not a great qualifying run, but he has picked his way through the field and is now really started climbing. He's in the mid-pack already, and we're only 5.5 minutes into the race.
Unfortunately for Tortello, left out to dry there, being the hole punch as he headed his way down that back straightaway. Gonna get overtaken by Andrew Moran, who's not gonna give him a single inch out there on the racetrack, nearly runs him off into the grass as he headed his way through there. I was gonna say that the Wendy's car was wondering where's the draft, probably wondering where's the respect. Somebody call up the ghost of Rodney Dangerfield. That nearly ended in tears as they had their way down the back straightaway. See, I miss this. I miss being able to make terrible jokes like this here on the Weekend Warriors. But
I think we found the beef.
Yeah, we have found a beef there. It's Tortello holding on to second right there. I do want to touch on this. You mentioned that Kane Lasky had that trouble, and it was heading down to turn number 1. We'll take a look at it at side-by-side battling. That was himself and Adam Bradshaw Jr. there on the inside. A little bit of contact as they had their way through the turn, and I think he decided to say, nope. Much like Rodney Dangerfield, I got no respect out there on the racetrack, and decided to call it from there.
Wow, here we go. Is back to the front here, 2 wide, working our way through the S's, and Moran slides up into the front there of Tortello as they are still battling. Sorry, that was the S's. What am I talking about? I think that might have been NASCAR being there, but Moran slides up in front over Tortello. Braun slides into third. Borowski in fourth, but as you can see, still that 9-car group. James Pepper doing a really good job of hanging on to the back of this group. Hasn't really got up and started fighting, and I think he's maybe taking a page out of Jason Green's book. And Jason just says, "Hey, I'm up in the front pack. That's where I want to be. We'll get to the halfway point, or to the time to come in and get my pit work done, and then we'll see if we can do from there." But as you can see, really, really racy up here at the front of this field to start.
Yeah, it's certainly dicey up at the front of the pack, but now we find ourselves with the shoe on the other foot. It's Tortello now going to be enjoying the draft with a $5 biggie bag in sight. Going to go for the move, heading his way down the back straightaway. Wendy should be paying us for all this free advertisement they're getting. And Tullo just going to blow his doors off as if it is nothing. Dirk Braun, I got to say, has been more adventurous with every single passing lap, trying to get the moves done here as they headed their way down the back straightaway. And a really intriguing start to this race. And we've had some drivers just scything their way through the running order. There's one that I do want to mention. It is our hard charger at the current moment. Just find himself dropped down to 15th as there's been all sort of drama breaking out with him. I may have pulled off a commentator's jinx before I even got the opportunity to talk about him. It's Jason Shen, pardon me, getting abducted by a UFO, throwing me all off for whack there. Still a hard charger, but lots of shuffling going on throughout this pack. I think these drivers finally saw that I wanted to talk about him and said, nope, you can't look away from us. We're going to give you a battle of note. And it's Dirk Braun finally looking for the top spot, trying to clip the coupon and get the 2-for-1 deal as he heads his way off through the first sector side by side, heading our way into sector number 2, not able to get the move done. I'm going to look to try and pin the tail on the donkey, or try and grab the three-legged chicken, if you will, here, Charles, because I need to figure out what in the world happened there at the end of the back straightaway, because I look away for 1 second and the world blew up.
Yeah, yeah, I think there were a couple cars. I think Chin was one of them that kind of went off at maybe roller coaster as we're going to get a look here. Oh, wow. Okay. Yep, couple of cars there as you see them just running wide, just couldn't get through. But obviously that draft in that mid-pack, you see Rich Meesters getting that car right, and there's still a few more cars behind as well. I think that was Adam Bradshaw that I saw that was sideways as well. But you could just see that this track is dealing some of these drivers' fits today, and no doubt, because this is a very, very technical track for the most part. We do have the good straightaways here that we get the draft and the challenges and the straightaways, but for the most part, this is a very technical track, and you have to be on your A game in order to navigate this. As now we see Tortello moving to the inside, got the good run, but you see Braun just giving Moran a push and saying, I don't necessarily want to fall back, but can't really hang on to that with Tello's run that he had, so he slides up to front with Moran in second, Dirk Braun third, Nate Schramm sitting there in fourth. I think this back half of this group is content to run where they are and save some of the racing for later on. But the front four just seems like they're just 2 by 2. It seems like every time we go down to turn 1, it's 2 by 2 by 2 with that top 6, and then they finally settle it back down and they just get ready for the draft run again.
Yeah, it's a double whammy as we are 3 wide heading our way down to turn number 1. Tullo getting hung out to dry. Dirk Braun punching his way up into that top spot there, as it is definitely a 1-2 punch at the start and the end of every single lap, because you've got that massively long back straightaway, disproportionately long, I would say. It is massive as you head your way down there. And then you've got the start-finish straightaway, which is nothing to scoff at either. It's comparatively small compared to the back straightaway here at VIR, but that's like placing Andre the Giant next to Godzilla and calling Andre the Giant an elf.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the front straight's 3,000 feet. The back straight's 3/4 of a mile, so over 4,000 feet long. So it is definitely a sight to behold there as these cars, and you just see how much draft these cars generate with this front group. It just seems like they're picking up an extra 5 miles per hour down that straightaway, and once they pull out, they're easy to make a pass. And you saw it last lap where the car in third past 2 cars was able to move to the front. So it's it's working in the driver's favor. As now Moran pulls out, he's going to start this run as well, and he's going to work past Dirk Braun. Is probably going to end up picking this up fairly simply. Yeah, he's already got clear, and now 2 others come. That's Tullo and Schramm are going to move by, and Tullo able to get through. Schramm was not, so Schramm's going to be stuck there in 4th position still. As now we've got side by side there with the 25 Jason Chin and the 888 of Phil Berry. And we've got a new Muppet sighting as we've got the count on Phil Berry's card this week. That is great. I love that.
Is he rocking the count there? I'm trying to spot it.
He is indeed, sir.
Yeah, because I've got Big Bird on his car. Maybe,
oh, you got
maybe
Big Bird. I'm on trading paint, so that's why I'm seeing the count. So
yeah, I am as well. This is a trading paints moment. It wouldn't be an iRacing broadcast if trading paints didn't decide to kick us producers in the nuts. So we'll refrain from that and take a look at Jason Chen trying to get a move done here. It's side by side heading into turn number 1 with Marcel Gorson. That nearly ended in tears. That was a couple of inches separating those two cars as they headed their way out of there. As Phil Berry there. Either way, a slice it. Whether he's in the Big Bird machine, I gotta say, nothing is more intimidating than seeing a 6-foot yellow pigeon right in your rearview mirror in your car. And if he is running the count car, we can say there's 1-2 car up in front. That was terrible. I apologize.
No, it was good. That was good. You did a good job with that. See Jason Chen's car already kind of been in the war. Has got some damage on the left front. It's going to hurt his aero on these straightaways, so it's going to be tough for him to just pull out and make passes. Or I'd say it won't be as easy. It's probably can still get some stuff done, but he's made it about as far as he can go without help. Is now the gap from Gorson that's leading this part of the train up to Jason Dunnington running at 11th, about I believe 3.5 seconds. He's done a great job up to this point. He's going to need some assistance from the pit cycle as we now see Guido working his way back up into 18th. So Guido still down 6 positions from his start, but he is actually making up some positions and trying to get as many points as possible. Obviously, we're going to get a replay here of Guido behind the 280 car there of Dan Wood. And Guido slides down to the inside here at Oak Tree and gets that pass made. Very tidy there from Guido and a good run out. So, yeah, nice move by Guido Marzuki there.
As trouble. Marcel Gorson, Jason Chen, both involved in it as they headed their way down at the end of the back straightaway. We'll say they were not alone in the incidents, as moments before then, Steve Pepper ran into some trouble. We'll take a look to see what happened to him in that 221 car. Here it is in the Cool Camel Racing machine, heading his way off into Oak Tree. And just a simple slide, nothing major there, but we have had different incident go down here. It's pit stops. Guido Marzuki, who I gotta say, that move that he pulled off on Dan Wood, he used some rally action as he headed his way through that section. Comes into the pits with Stevie Ray and Daniel Wood. So it's a Stevie stop, so we can say for a fact that the pit window is officially open. As I'm gonna look to see what in the world happened here with Marcel Gorson and Jason Chen. Chen kind of blinking in and out. That's kind of a sign of what may have caused this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you see Jason just, tried to get it slowed down, tried to late break, and Marcel was there. Marcel, of course, didn't really see him very well with him blinking in and out. So, just a racing. I wouldn't call that's not a racing incident. That's an iRacing incident because of the blinking that's involved there. As we're on board now, Alexander Gorson has moved up to the lead, so he's going to take over the top spot for at least for a few corners until we get to the end of the straightaway. But he's pulled a little bit of a gap, but that's not going to last long. They'll track him back down in a hurry. But it's Alexander now moving up to the front of the field. He's decided it's time to start racing and did a good job, moved up to the front. And now we've got Schramm there on the inside coming down into the beginning of roller coaster 2x2. And that's going to tighten this group up as they're trundling their way through, trying to keep off of each other. And you see the pack just backing themselves into each other there with the 26 fighting the 73. Schramm gets through, takes over the lead again. Gorson, though, up at the front. And looks like he's been racing. Here comes Jason Green in the pit. So first of our lead group has now pulled into pit lane. He's decided the undercut might be the call to make. And actually, you know what? Probably not a bad call at all as he comes down for his stop.
Yeah, so trundling slowly down pit lane is Jason Green as the battling still continues up for your top spots. Alexander Gorson finding himself in the midst of a hornet's nest. Look at Andrew Moran trying to make a 3 wide on the exit of turn number 1 and 2. That could have been really dicey as they headed their way off through NASCAR bend and left hook, but thankfully they settle it down at least partially. Tor still looking for the move here on Dirk Braun as it nearly ends in tears once again as they head their way out of that section. I will address this comment here on the YouTube chat from Michelle Lynn, who says, I think Ron is a wizard because his commentator's curses work a little too well. I personally think that I'm more of a Mad Hatter because I speak as if I'm suffering from mercury poisoning, but, you know, that's just me. Nathaniel Schramm, though, is still your race leader, but now that we're seeing a more consistent stream of pit stops here, Charles, gotta wonder whether these drivers in that game of leapfrog they've been playing, kind of similar shades to what you usually see every single month of May at the Indy 500 when the drivers play that game of cooperative chicken. I wonder if that's going to be the situation we find ourselves in at the moment. These drivers leapfrogging in front of each other thinking, okay, we don't want to just put on a good show for the broadcasters. We want to get some good fuel mileage, so try and preserve the draft and the runs.
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it. Is obviously they do a really good job up here at the front. Once they're clear, and they are clear, with James Pepper dropping off down. He's still in 8th, but he's dropped off that front group. They will go into a fuel save mode and just try and maximize their fuel usage here to make that pit stop as short as possible. And our benchmark is going to be Jason Green. No, it's not, because Jason Green had a penalty on pit entry, 54-second stop for Jason. So that's bad news. As we have another one come in, that's Adrian Borowski. So he's going to be our barometer for who is going to be, what the pit stops are going to look like here at the end of the race.
Yeah, so Borowski hoping for a better run down in the pits than Jason Green. I was looking through, I was like, something wasn't right there, because I was looking at the timing tower, not even looking at the production software. I was looking at the timing tower thinking, this did not go well for Jason Green. As it turns out, 54-second pit stop is less than ideal. You don't need to be a mathematician to figure that one out for sure. So that's taken at least one car out of this discussion here for the race win. Jason, I kind of feel bad for him in some of these Weekend Warriors races. If I would usually say if he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all. I feel like luck-wise, as of recent here in the Spec Racer Fords, he's been like the filled-in snake pit at the zoo. He hasn't really had a pit to hiss in a while.
Yeah, absolutely. As it's the competition's really picked up here in the Weekend Warriors. But we can kind of interpolate from the 54.8 that he. So you're talking about a 14.5-second pit stop normally, and just to give you a quick rundown there on Borowski, his was a 17.6, so probably took an extra lap of fuel, and that's, once again, we've talked about Borowski being fairly new to the series, so probably still working and getting his fuel numbers committed to memory there. So we're just playing it safe, so you never can tell how these are going to work out, especially when you get into a fuel save mode like this. You could potentially stumble your way onto an extra lap, which would give him the advantage. But once again, we'll see as this goes. Obviously, we're still looking at this top group, and we'll see how they're going to come in. But generally speaking, this top group comes in at the very late stages of the pit window when the fuel's almost gone, and we see now Josh Justice dropping off the back a little bit. So this group up front is kind of broken up as we had a pretty sizable gap there. Those cars have closed it down, and they're going to go 2 by 2, and that's going to help Justice get back up there as he's trying to close that gap down. Picked up a couple of tenths there through turn 1. So as long as these guys up front keep fighting, that's going to allow Josh to get back up there, get back in. He's already down under a second now, so he's slowly working his way back up to this group. He'll get back in the tow, and we'll have that nice 6-car group up at the front.
Yeah, the trouble that Josh had was a slowdown as he headed his way out of Oak Tree, had to pull over. And if there's any section on a racetrack here in North America to pick up a slowdown that you don't want, it's a slowdown as you head your way out of Oak Tree. It's that and the 6 and 7 section at Road Atlanta. That stings pretty badly as well. But that's going to hurt him, at least temporarily. He has been able to catch a draft from those cars. It's not the strongest draft in the world, but it's a draft in a windstorm. 7/10, now 6/10 of a second back there for Josh Justice as we see Paul Jackson, latest racer to come down pit lane. He was the highest up at the time of his pit stop, so this shouldn't really be too much of a shock. Adrian Borowski, the highest runner of the cars to come down pit lane, but that 17.7 second stop is going to hurt him severely, doubly so considering he's effectively in no man's land at the current moment. We'll cut to the widest shot that I possibly can, and you won't see a single car out here on the racetrack. Closest car farther up the road is Adam Bradshaw, and the closest car behind him is Steve Pepper, who's not too terribly far behind. He says 8 seconds, so he's not on a deserted island, but he's off in the middle of wilderness. He's basically stuck in the middle of the woods in New Jersey trying to find his way back onto the highway.
Yeah, absolutely is. He just, for whatever reason, it just didn't work out for him. That he came out and into a hole after his pit stop, and there's just nobody there for him to work with. So he is just going to have to kind of deal with that. Obviously, the extra couple of seconds he took in the pits is going to get compounded by the fact that he's got no draft help at all. And so he's going to be, he's probably going to end up being 3 or 4 seconds down off of the lead once the rest of the leaders come into pit here in just a few minutes. I figure 31 minute mark, I think, is when you'll see the vast majority of these cars have to come down pit road for their stops.
Yeah, and so keeping an eye on that as we are now firmly into the second half of this race. 23 minutes and 52 seconds on the clock. Once again, I want to thank you all for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today. If you're enjoying it, how about you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and take a look at some of the other broadcasts we have coming up here on the channel as well. But as we continue on and look at this pack up at the front, I do want to give some love to some of the battles that we have going on elsewhere here in the field as we run our way through. Let's talk about this little two-car duel with Steve Saunders and Jason Dunnington in what is a fantastic shade of purple there. It's a good shade of purple, good-looking race car. I believe that's meant to... okay, yeah, that is a Monster can. I was wondering what that was, but it is Monster. It is Monster Energy. I nearly said flavored. I would not eat that car and expect it to taste like grapes.
No, and with the Spider-Man helmet to go along with it. So very interesting there. And yeah, just a good run there from Jason, up 8 positions. So he's kept his car clean. As Steve as well, up 7 spots. So these guys have done a good job here during the race and just maximize what they can do. And they're racing together cleanly. And they are starting to close down, I believe, James Pepper that's in front of them a little bit. As Pepper is, once again, he's off of that lead group. Now he's by himself with he's 7.5 seconds behind the lead pack and another 7 seconds ahead of Saunders as now Dunnington comes in. And he is going to make his stop here running in ninth at the 25.5 minute mark. Tom Gradwell looks like he is coming by as Phil Berry comes in as well. So a couple of our mid-pack cars have come in as we get this battle here with Marcel Gorson and Jason Chin as they're moved up a couple of spots from the pit cycle. As you can see, Jason been in the wars a bit there with the front end of that car. Obviously, we saw him with the interaction with Marcel earlier, but it looks like that they're still here ready to race and not really looking like he's all upset about it. So done a good job there. And have moved up just to the edge of the top 10 for Mr. Chin there as Gorson sitting in that 10th position. And currently James Pepper still leading Spec 2. Tom Gradwell leading our Masters class running in ninth. So having himself a good day. And you see him just ahead of those other 2 cars. Looks like they're trying to close him down just a bit there. And indeed, they are indeed. And you see Marcel's got some damage on the front of his car also. So it's they're closing that down. We'll make that a 3-car pack here in just a minute, and we'll see what happens at that point.
Yeah, it is a 3-car battle, but it's a sketchy 3-car battle at that because not only do you have your Masters leader looking to hold on to that spot and not lose out on any ground to Adam Bradshaw Sr., who's currently running 12th overall. You do have that car of Jason Shen, who continues to blink out. We saw that as he headed his way through the S's there. It's been able to settle down, but once I cut to an outboard shot, things may be a little bit tricky for him. His aeronaut has been about as spotty as the Philadelphia Phillies ever since they pulled within 3 games of the Atlanta Braves in the NL East, but that's neither here nor there. Pit stop's going down right now. It's Tortello, Josh Justice, and Steve Saunders making a trio of cars to come down pit lane, keeping our eye on this 3-car pack of Tom Gradwell. Gradwell going to come into the pits. Jason Chen going to stay out. Marcel Gorson going to come into the pits here as well. As much as you can realistically come into the pits at any single point during one of these races, the rational point is we're getting up to it very, very soon. So with 2 cars breaking away from this lead pack last time around, I am going to go out on a limb and say that we will probably see a whole gaggle, a cluster, if you would, of pit stops coming up here at the end of this lap.
Yeah, I think this is going to be this one or the next one. I think we're at the end of the fuel there. I'm pretty sure I would say Tolo probably has used more fuel than Justice. Justice probably didn't burn as much because he just kind of rode in the back of that pack. But he saw that Tolo came in and decided that was a good time. He would have somebody to draft with. Oh, no, we got Phil Berry. Looks like we've got a black flag. That's probably going to be speeding on pit entry, and that's going to take him out of the chase for any kind of good Spec 2 finishing position there, unfortunately, for Phil. This is, it's a pretty straightforward pit entry. I guess it's just the fact that, you're trying to just get as close as you can to the finish there, just, I guess, overshooting it ever so slightly, maybe a lockup. But otherwise, either way, unfortunate for Phil Berry there. Is also, I did see Steve Pepper come in as well. So he's in the pits and back out. So we're seeing it. Here they come now. Pit road as getting busy there, Ron, as you predicted. Oh!
I can tell that was close because it sounded like I sat on a cold toilet seat. Your top 4 all coming down pit lane in unison. James Pepper going to join them down in pit lane, waiting to see whether the car of Jason Chen will be actually in sight when he comes into to pit lane here. But keeping an eye on these drivers. First stand up in their pit box is Andrew Moran and Alexander Gorson. Last in the box, Dirk Braun and Nathaniel Schramm. Everybody coming into the pits of the main car you have to keep an eye on is Josh Justice. He was the shortest of those previous pitters at 12.2 seconds. Nathaniel Schramm going to exit at 12.5 seconds is his stop. Let's keep an eye on Josh Justice to see what he may be able to do. Going to get past a couple drivers, including Dirk Braun. It will be P3 at the moment for Justice as he tries to get the move done on Alexander Gorson, heading off into turn number 1, but it will not be enough. Nathaniel Schramm shuffles that to the race lead.
He did, and Josh left it very, very late there, trying to get that car slowed down, tried to get through to get past Gorson, just not enough room to do it, but just ever so slightly ran that car deep, and he is going to slot in third, and now with a 1.1 second gap up to Nate Schramm. These guys are going to have to do a little bit of working together here and get these group back together to track down Schramm. Otherwise, this is going to be race done. So they've got a little bit of work ahead of them. We'll see what happens here once these couple of pairs get out onto the back straight and see what kind of time they can close down. But right now, Schramm doing a good job of extending it as much as he can. Now that's now a 3-car group. So let's see how much purchase they're going to get here running together as we head down the back straight. As see if they can close that gap down at all before they get to roller coaster.
Yeah, so this is where things could get a little bit technical. Gorson, Justice, Braun. Look at Dirk Braun, first to pull out. First one to try and get the move done, and he's going to make it. Clips a coupon, 2-for-1 deal, hang down the back straight away. That is how you do that. Alexander Gorson now back down to third. It looks like the battle for the podium will be the main one of note at the front of this pack, but that's not to say that it will be the only battle because we've got some sprinkled throughout the field. Here's Tortello and Adrian Baraski battling for 6th and 7th on the road right now. 2 drivers that were running up in that front pack fight, however, had some very lengthy pit stops. Tullo at 16 seconds. Adrian Baraski first to come down pit lane at 17.7. However, these two still going to continue to squabble As you can see, Boraski getting that move done there off into turn number 1. We also have, battling a little bit farther in the back in a 3-car fight right now, Steve Saunders as a lead car of this trio. Guido Marzuki is slotted there in P11 with Rich Meester's shotgun of this little pack there finds himself behind as Guido got to look to try and get the move done, heading into turn number 1, licking the stamp and send it. Will it work for him? Yes, I believe it will. However, there is one little note that I do want to raise. That pack that we had up in the front, Charles, just absolutely insane in size. It's kind of reinvented itself in a way as a battle that was going on behind, however, has broken up with an incident hang off in turn number 1. Marcel Gorson, I think, was shown the door and has broken up this fight a little bit. But still 4 cars all packed in like sardines here, right outside the top 15.
Yeah, absolutely. As Stevie Ray currently leading that group that includes Adam Bradshaw, Jeff Wupker, Marcel Gorson. They've got an 8-second gap over Jason Green. And Stevie having a good run today. Hope we don't jinx the boss. As you can just see Dan Wood and Tom Gradwell ahead. So, maybe they get a chance to track those guys down. And there's a couple more spots on offer here as we close this down. And looking back up at the front, that gap is now under a second. And that's the 28 of James Pepper off the track. And that's at Oak Tree. And just looked like maybe carried a little too much speed in through there, went wide, and that's going to drop him down the order a little bit. Let's see, is he going to get wide there? He does get wide a little bit there, and continuing to get wide there. So, yeah, just kind of lost that car. Is he going to get it stopped? He does get it stopped, so backs it up. Yep, so gets that thing done. Well, hey, iRacing Grass doing what it's supposed to do. That's going to cost him a few positions. Had a good run going and still having a good run. He's dropped to second in Spec 2, and he's about 2.5 seconds behind Steve Saunders there in the battle between 11th and 12th. And as we were back to the front, you see in this, as I said, this group closing down Nate Schramm. The gap is now under a second. So as they get a little bit closer, and now we have Marcel Gorson with the black flag. But as they get a little bit closer, this pack will become 4, and we'll have us a nice battle there at the end with about 5.5 minutes left in this race. And Marcel, I'm going to guess that's probably incident points. I don't think he was coming to the pits. He is now, obviously, to work the black flag. So he is going to lose a little more time there as he works his way down pit road at a very slow pace in comparison to the racing line.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was Stevie Ray, the other side of that incident. Here it was, heading off into the turn. Marcel Gorson, I believe, was already was running behind. Stevie had the incident. Marcel Gorson, I think,
ran wide.
Yeah, I think maybe
cut
going
the track.
off the track. Yeah, potentially. Yep. As we're hearing, it was actually a separate call, and there it was.
There it is.
Heading his way off through Hog Pen, and that small little hop, skip, and a jump off the track with a car that's not exactly in tip-top shape, going to put him over that limit.
Yeah, not really. It's kind of weird that I thought they had a fast repair. I'm wondering why maybe a couple of these cars didn't take it. Maybe they've taken the fast repair away. I'm not sure, but I thought they had the ability to get that car cleaned up when they came into the pits. But we'll have to review the rule set for the summer series because I don't think we've ever even talked about it. So back to the front here as the gap is closing even closer, 0.7 of a second between Schramm and Braun. Braun on the charge, leading this group of 3, closing down that lead, and they're well within draft range at this point. So that gap is just going to shrink over the next couple of corners, and it's going to be a four car contest here for the final couple of laps.
And you can see that margin has disappeared for Nathaniel Schramm. So it's a 4-car battle with about 4 minutes left to go here in round number 5 of this season. So close to perfection there at the triple fours. But once again, I want to thank you all for tuning into the action here on SMB. We have got a thriller to end off this race. Nate Schramm, Dirk Braun, Alexander Gorson, and Josh Justice. I want to give some love here to Josh Justice because he has had to claw his way back from the cellar. Was kind of the last car of that little pack. Had that slowdown, which nearly dropped him out of the fight entirely. However, with a very good stop, 12.7 seconds after all. 12.27 seconds for him. It was a very good stop, 0.3 of a second clear of the next quickest of these top 4, that being Nate Schramm, and one of the quickest, if not the quickest pit stop for the entirety of the field. It's put him in a good situation. And in terms of fuel, which is always a worry whenever you find yourself in a situation like this, I'm not sure if it's going to be too much of a... what's the most genteel way that I can put this? It's not going to be that sort of butt-clenching terror of thinking that he can run out of gas at any single point in time, because he's got the draft of 4 cars acting as a hole punch right up in front of him.
Yep.
And he doesn't need to go flat out, because these drivers are now starting a battle. Dirk Braun getting some assistance there with Alexander Gorson, going to push out into the top spots with Nathaniel Schramm now slotted down into 3rd. I think Josh Justice has a really good shot to do well here in this race. Of course, a real-life spec racer, Ford driver.
Yeah.
A podium is a distinct possibility. A win could be on the cards as well.
Yeah, absolutely. As I believe we're going to be white flag this time by. So, yeah, 4 cars at the front here, and you see the battles already kicking off as it's 2 wide at the front between Gorson and Braun as they're working their way down to turn 1 for the final time. And, yeah, Josh Justice now looking to the inside, so he's picked his running mate here for this corner. That's going to be the inside line with Dirk Braun. As you see Gorson and Schramm there on the outside, still 2 by 2, working their way down into NASCAR. And they are absolutely going to battle this the entire lap around. Oh, a little bit of a wiggle there by Dirk Braun. He's going to drop down. Justice with a good run to the inside, takes it in there into turn 3. Into turn 3 in front of Dirk Braun, and now running in 3rd, so in that podium spot. And Gorson with a little bit of a gap here, but that's going to close up pretty quickly as we are coming down through the snake section, and it's going to be a battle to the very end, I believe, there, Ron, as now Josh Justice moving up to P2, so getting by Schramm, and here we go with the last half of this lap.
I like that move there from Josh Justice. That was gutsy as he headed his way off into the S's. However, if there's any driver that, for lack of a better term, is screwed, it's Alexander Gorson. He's going to be the one punching the hole in the air. It's good to be a hole punch when you're working in an office. It's not good to be a hole punch when you're out there on the racetrack, especially with a whole lot of straight line running left to go. The one benefit is that Nate Schramm and Josh Justice cannot get out of each other's hair. And Dirk Braun looking to get involved as well. 3 wide as he heads his way through there. Look at Dirk with a mighty run heading down the back straightaway. Gorson stays ahead as a result of all that battling, but Dirk Braun getting the Star Award for that. Josh Justice dips some wheels off into the dirt, gets a little bit sideways, nearly body slams Dirk Braun. Looks like it's going to be only 2 cars battling unless these 2 can finally get their stuff sorted, which they cannot. Alexander Gorson leads heading out of the final turn onto that start-finish straightaway, but Dirk Braun going to have the run. Closing as they head their way towards a stripe. Coming to the line at the end of 40 minutes. Who's it going to be? It's going to be Gorson.
Oh, there we go. That's exactly what we wanted to see from this race. 4 cars at the front, and it was a 2-car battle for first and second. Oh, that's the 19 Guido Marzucchi, and that is that's broken as he comes back on a hog pen and is going to get back on the track. Has not got to slow down as it was very slow coming through the grass, but he's going to end up in 13th position, I believe, and we're going to see the battle here between him. I believe that's Dunnington. As side by side, and clips the barrier, and that was enough there for both of those cars. You got the advanced cooling there for both cars. As great run by Gorson there to end it 400th. So they got the gap between him and Dirk Braun, and then 6 milliseconds between Schramm and Justice. That was what we call a photo finish there for that final podium position.
I'll tell you what, if Dirk Braun just had 1 more mile an hour as he headed his way onto that start-finish straightaway, that victory would have been his. And what an amazing battle as we got towards the end there. I want to run it back all the way back here to this move that Josh Justice was able to pull on Nathaniel Schramm. Here it was, heading their way in this small little short chute out of the snake off into the S's. This is not a spot where you usually get a move done, and there's a reason for it. Going side by side through here, it's like trying to pick up antimatter with chopsticks. You usually can't do it, but Josh Justice having the superhuman strength to be able to get that move done. That was some awesome stuff. Then it seemed like it was going to be Alexander Gorson versus the world. However, you could see a bad sideways snap there from Josh Justice Didn't even note that at the time. Had a Tokyo drift as he headed his way through Oak Tree. That stacks up Nathaniel Schramm, who has to go for the move a little bit early. Alexander Gorson not going to allow him to get the draft. At that point, he positions himself perfectly to allow Josh Justice to get the slipstream. Let's look at Dirk Braun. Has no room there to try and make it work. Actually dips some wheels off into the dirt to try and get it done. Nearly takes a race lead as he headed his way into the turn. However, fighting around the outside through into roller coaster is a very tall order. You can see Josh Justice making that little bit of off-track excursion, nearly end in tears for Dirk Braun. I think had that not happened, had he cleared him, had a good enough run heading on to the start-finish straightaway, this win may have been Dirk Braun's. But here we go as we head our way towards that start-finish straightaway. Gorson trying to do everything in his power to try and get this race win. As we head our way towards the stripe, we slow it down and try and stop it at the right time. There you can see it. Goodness gracious me. That was about one singular front clip on a Spec Racer Ford between those two at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. As there is Alexander Gorson, and I'm assuming that there are other cars in that same configuration. As we've decided to break everything. Yep, there we go. As that is what we normally do at the end of these races. I think that car is stuck. I think that's Jason Dunnington, and I think he is stuck on the barrier. So that's you don't think you're going. I don't think you're going anywhere else except to the pits, there, Jason. So unfortunate. Yeah, there you go. The board slide that just didn't quite work there from Dunnington. And there we go. Back to the pits he goes. And, yeah, great race today, Ron. That's exactly what we kind of expected here from VIR is with these spec racers. They just run so closely together. And you saw some really masterful driving at the front of that field, taking the cars to the grass, but managing to keep them off of each other. We didn't have a big crash there amongst the front runners. And just some great driving, some brave moves, and a great victory there for Gorson as Schramm is going to end up third. Probably still going to be leading the points, but another podium, but not another win or not a win for Schramm just yet this season.
Yeah, but it was still a good drive either way for him. There's a reason why he's the reigning Spec Racer Ford champion. He may not get the victories that some others do, but much like purchasing a jar of mayonnaise, consistency is key when running here on the Weekend Warriors. So if you can get a good string of results, that's all that matters at the end of the day. But I'll tell you what, folks, we're going to take a quick little gander at our race results before we move off into the interviews, because I'm curious about these drivers' perspectives in that race, because you know, we always expect it to be wild, and wild it certainly was. But here are your race results here. At the end of it all, your winner is Alexander Gorson. Why did it break it up into the Spec 1 category? I want to see it overall.
Hey, welcome to the summer series. There we go.
There we go. I'll have to just whack our project file with a hammer a couple of times. I think we'll be fine. Alexander Gorson ends up grabbing the victory, and look at that gap at the end. 0.033 of a second between he and Dirk Braun at the end of, again, folks, that was over 40 minutes of racing action, and they're covered by a matter of inches at the end. Hey, if that doesn't give you a reason to tune into the rest of the season, I really don't know what does. Dirk Braun, as we just said, comes across the stripe in second. A mighty drive at the end of that race, but just not enough there at the end. Need a small little gust of wind, and the victory probably would have been his. Nathaniel Schramm there ends up in P3, rounding out your podium. Josh Justice, who certainly gave it a Viking effort at the end of that race, will be in P5, with Andrew Moran in 5th. Adrian Boraski will be in 6th. Tortolo comes across the stripe in 7th. Rich Meesters ends up grabbing the victory in the Masters category when it's all said and done. Adam Bradshaw suffering a late race collapse. Steve Saunders will finish right behind him in 9th, with James Pepper completing your top 10. Series debut, 2nd in the Spec 2 category for him. Bravo.
Yeah, absolutely. Great run there. Jason Chin finishing in 11th. Great run up the field. I believe he is our hard charger for today, up 12 positions as he has moved up. And Guido Marzucchi there in 12th. Not the day I'm sure Guido would have wanted, but still a 12th place finish. Adam Bradshaw finishing in 13th. Tom Grabwell 14th. Dan Wood, final step on the Spec 2 podium. Finishing in 15th, Jeff Wubker 16th, Jason Green finishing in 17th, unfortunate with that penalty on the pit stop. Stevie Ray finishes in P18, as we get out the WD-40. There we go. Jason Dunnington finishing in 19th. Paul Jackson 20th. Steve Pepper finishes in 21st. Phil Berry 22nd. Marcel Gorson 23rd. Adam Bradshaw 24th. Kane Lasky 25th. And Carl Burke did not take the start, so came out and just for whatever reason did not take the start of the race. But that is our final finishing results, and we have interviews ready to go there, Ron.
Yeah, that we certainly do. Before we move off into the interviews, as I just had my lights die on me here in my room, that was a little bit freaky. Do want to give one last thank you to the sponsor making things possible here in this season, that being Race Voice. Go fast with the speed of voice. It's real-time iRacing coaching for you here in the sim. Want to thank Race Voice for sponsoring this season. If you want to learn more, head off to racevoice.com. However, we have got ourselves some drivers looking to have a chat with us, and I'm curious what they have to say, because that was the kind of VIR race that we usually expect, but you know, the novelty rarely, if ever, wears off in some fantastic Weekend Warriors action. So I'm gonna get the interviews up and rolling here by having a chat with, how about we start with the other side of that very close finish here. Alexander Gorson not joining us yet here. We'll start with Dirk Braun, our P2 finisher here, who had a mighty run in that final half of the last lap. Dirk, welcome in. First off, before I ask you about the race as a whole, I want to ask you about that last lap, because the move on the back straightaway there, it made me sound like I just sat on a cold toilet seat there. I was so anxious looking at you try and get the move done with a pass in the grass.
You like that?
It was fun.
Yeah, I was going to say something to Josh about that, because I think it was at Magello or something like that. He made a comment, and I was going to make something and say something to him during the race, but I said I'll leave it till afterwards. But we were practicing the shenanigans on Friday with Nate and Jason and a few other folks and stuff like that. So, you know, it's nice to see what you can get away with and practice it, and then you know, the last lap, you just never know. It was crazy. That was nuts. So,
yeah, that was certainly an insane race. But yeah, I said this right before we started the interviews here, how despite the fact that, you know, between Charles and I, we've probably covered hundreds of Weekend Warriors races over the past couple of years, and many of them being here with this combination, the Spec Racer Fords at VIR, the novelty doesn't wear off for us broadcasters. So how is it from your perspective behind the wheel, knowing, okay, this is going to be an absolutely insane draft fest. It's going to be a lot of fun, but my blood pressure is going to be incredibly high by the time that checkered flag comes out.
yeah, with adding the folks from the Formula Vs and the Formula Fords and stuff like that who don't regularly race the SRF with us, it gets a little hairier. As you could tell from the beginning of the race, we were just, going side by side in every freaking turn there was. But it made made for a good race instead of just, sitting in the draft train the whole damn time. But other than that, I mean, it helps having pace here, so that helped me out. I just, it was hairy for most of the track, most of the laps, but, it kind of sucked on the pit because I took a little bit too much fuel because I was having so much fun, and I didn't calculate how much fuel I needed until I was actually in the pit entry, and until we stacked up back there too, so...
Yeah, but either way, it was an insane race from our perspective here in the booth, and certainly a stressful one for y'all's perspective behind the wheel out there on track. Do want to ask you about the next round here of the Weekend Warrior Summer Shootout Series. We're going to be switching back over to the Formula Vs for the second time this season, and running there at the small little itty-bitty track, that being Tsukuba in Japan, in 1 week's time. Are we going to be seeing you out there on the racetrack in the FV, and if so, what are your thoughts heading there?
Yep, well, you'll see me out there. I'll definitely try it. Hopefully I can survive. Hopefully it won't be like, my good luck that I had last week. So we'll give it a shot. I don't mind the track, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, hoping not for some falling anvils next time out. But Dirk, before we let you go and celebrate this P2 run, we'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs.
Thank you to you guys. Really appreciate y'all, Stevie. Everybody who I practice with and stuff like that, I really thank you guys, because mean, just make it fun. So, thanks.
Yeah, thank you as well for joining us here on the broadcast booth, Dirk, and we will see you next time out when the Formula V's tackle Tsukuba.
All right, thank you.
And that right there was Dirk Braun, your P2 finisher here tonight. Tsukuba, what a fantastic track. I think it's about 3 apples long. But Charles, I'll pass the mic off to you and ask who you would like to have a chat with.
Well, let's bring our Masters winner in, and that's Rich Meesters, and we'll have a conversation with him. I believe he's the Masters winner. Yep, that's kind of what it looks like to me. So let me grab Rich and bring him down here. We'll have a chat. So, Rich, congratulations. Masters victory here today. P14, I believe, overall. I think that's correct.
P8.
P8. Oh, I'm sorry.
P8,
Oh, wow.
That's our graphics pretty slow.
See, when you're used to looking at time and scoring, and then the replay start happening, it kind of changes things. My apologies, Rich.
No worries.
But a great race out there, and when we talked about this at the beginning of the race, we kind of know what this car track combination is going to be like, and it did not disappoint today.
No, it was a lot of fun. It was a bit chippy at the beginning. There was a little too much racing, not enough following going on for a bit. And I got some penalty points, so I had to duck into the pits early, get my fast repair, and it also got me out of the hairy group that I was with. And then I kind of had to manage the last 22 minutes of the race because I had one next to a drive-through, so it was a bit of fun.
Well, there you go. But successfully managed that to get the class victory, and it's so Dirk said something. We were talking with him a minute ago, and so what are your thoughts about the? I guess not necessarily the rotation we've got of the cars, but the group where we've got drivers that don't normally come in. For this particular race that maybe run the Formula V's and stick with that, or the Formula Fords and kind of race that. It's brought some challenges, but I think once again, obviously, I've said that this is one of the best. The best communities in our racing that have been doing it for so long, and everybody's just very, very nice and accommodating. But obviously, with some less experienced drivers out there that don't normally run this, it invites some additional challenges during the course of this season.
Oh, sure, but I think it's a lot of fun. It's great to have all of the people out and see the huge grids and, get people of various skill levels and see where they end up in the various cars. So it's a lot of fun. It's good to race with the people we normally race with in the SRFs, and it's good to race with the folks that are joining us just for the summer, and I hope some of them decide to come out and run with us when we get to the next season.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that as well. I'm hoping that somebody that normally doesn't run the spec racer finds out they really enjoy driving the spec racer, and they make it a weekly thing. That's just going to help the leagues as a whole. So next week we switch back to the Formula V's. We're going to Tsukuba. So small car, very small track. And with the grid sizes we've seen this season, that's going to make for some adventures as well.
Yeah, and I think that's close quality for that season or session as well. So that'll be good because I think with a large number, it'll be a bit of pandemonium, trying to get a gap to qualify. I'm hoping to make it out. I might be a little touch and go for next weekend, but we'll certainly give it a shot if I can make it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Rich, thanks for stopping in and talking with us, and we'll give you a chance to give any thanks or shout outs before we let you go.
Yeah, well, as always, thank you guys for the broadcast and the Weekend Warriors team for putting it on, and Stevie and guys. It was good actually to have my cool Camel Racing partners out here today. So we're up to 3 now in the series, so it'll be good to see where we go for the rest of the season. Yeah,
and I will say I think James did a good job. I think for his first time out, and had a really good race. Trying to hang up there with the big boys. Not quite there yet, but a good entry for his first time here.
Oh yeah, I know from racing endurance races with him, he's proper quick. So it's good to see him out, and I hope he had a good time. I'm gonna check with him later.
All right, Rich, thanks for stopping in. We'll see you next week at Tsukuba. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Bye.
And that was Rich Meesters, our Masters class winner today, finishing in P8 overall. I have been corrected. So, Ron, we've got a couple more. Take your pick there of who you want to interview next.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have a chat with Nate Schramm here in the broadcast booth. I'll save Josh Justice for you here in a couple of moments' time. Comes up P3 here in what was a very competitive race. Nate Schramm now joining us here in the broadcast booth. Nate, welcome in. Well done on the P3. That looked like an insanely competitive race from start to finish, as we usually expect here in this series. Was it a little bit stressy out there here at VIR?
Yeah, a little bit. At the start, I was surprised at how aggressive some of the folks wanted to be up at the front. So I was happy to just kind of fall back and just save fuel. And that worked out in the pit stops. Came out with a nice gap, but unfortunately everybody else came out and they had a group to work with, so they were able to make up, I think it was like 1.5 seconds or something like that. They were able to make that up in a few laps. So then it was just a proper fight to the end, and unfortunately Dirk saw that pass on the grass and he had a great run. So yeah, couldn't quite get the finish out there for the win, but it was really fun nonetheless.
You know, I usually ask about this whenever somebody goes for a bonsai pass like that, so I'll ask you here as well. What was going through your mind when he tried to go for that pass in the grass? Because he said that he had been, like, you know, seeing whether or not he could do something like that. Obviously, a lot of practice going into these races. So what was going through your mind when he tried to go for that move on the back straightaway? Because whether or not you knew it was coming or not, that's still got to be a bit of a shock, seeing a car that's, you know, however wide go for a space that's even narrower than itself.
Well, yeah, we definitely practice it on the Friday night draft practices that we do we host these, and we definitely did some of that passing practice, and he definitely learned something from that. But yeah, he had such a great run. Josh behind or ahead of me got loose going into Oak Tree, and that just killed both of our momentums. And Dirk was just roaring up behind. I saw him come up through the mirror, and you know, I got to be honest, there was a part of me that was hoping, oh, he's gonna get loose on the grass and take all three of the guys out in front of me, and I'll just sail through. But you know, he knows better to do that, and he was able to, you know, keep it locked down and brake really, really well, and you know, give Alex the great fight there to the end. So yeah.
Yeah, but it was certainly an insane race here for round number 5 of this season. Already getting close to the halfway mark, and we will be there come time for the next round of the championship when the Formula Vs rock up to Tsukuba. Are you going to be out there on the racetrack for that combination? And if so, what are your thoughts heading there?
Definitely planning on it. You know, definitely won't be able to do the fuel saving that we did here. So it'll be a little interesting just because that track is so short. You know, in the past with the Spec Racer Ford, I really played off the fuel save game there, and I paid off really well because I think that was my first win in the Weekend Warrior Series was there. Yeah, Formula V's is going to be a whole different animal being a sprint format. But slow cars nonetheless, they're going to have big draft, at least on the back straight, so, and maybe the front. So yeah, it should be a good close fight, I think.
Yeah, certainly going to be a competitive race from my time covering the Formula V Weekend Warriors for, gosh, coming up to probably about a year and a half now. Actually, 2 years, golly. But I know that those cars are incredibly competitive, even on a track as small as that one. So expecting some more heart in the mouth action come time for that race in 1 week's time. But Nate, as always, we'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs before we let you go and celebrate the podium.
Awesome. I'd like to thank Slow Motion Broadcasting as always. You guys do a great job. I'd like to thank Stevie and the guys for putting this whole league on. It's always fun every week, always something to learn, always fun races to go through. Like to thank my team, Three Oceans Racing, and our sponsors, Turner Machine Development, and Gager and Sons Power Systems. And finally, I will finally remember, like to thank the chat for watching as always. It's always good to see the comments.
You know, funnily enough, I didn't see the other comments this time around, so maybe they're just, you have to, like, maybe they heard that I was going to be in the booth and decided they didn't want a migraine. That could have been it. But Nate, thank you for joining us here in the booth, and we'll see you next time out there with the Formula Vs.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Yep, and that right there was Nate Schramm, our P3 finisher. Charles, I'll pass the mic off to you to have a chat with our fourth place man.
Fourth place finisher. So yeah, let's bring Josh Justice down and have a chat with him and wrap this up. Josh, welcome into the booth. Fourth place today, 7 thousandths of a second, the gap between you and Nate Schramm. Just a great race. You showed that I think you kind of kept it pretty close to the vest there early, but then you put on quite a good show there in the final few laps to work your way up into a position to challenge for a win.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing was basically, I had done the math on fuel before the race to be based on a 20 lap rate. And so I was a little surprised when the white flag flew on lap 19. And, luckily I had a good exit out of hog pen, coming to the line, get the white flag. And so I'm like, okay, I'm in a good position here. I made a couple passes, and I thought, I had a real chance at it. But I got a little wheel spin coming into the oak tree corner, or coming out of it, rather. And I had to lift on that long straightaway. And unfortunately, I just ended up, kind of boxed out from where I wanted to be going into roller coaster. I wanted to be on the right side, and I got boxed onto the left. And from there, I was just stuck trying to hang it around the outside on hard pin, on the lap with Clam on the inside. And, I had the momentum a little bit, but I guess the way our car was positioned when we had that first initial contact, I think Graham got the better of that. Very unfortunate, but it was overall a good race, a good finish. The best finish I've had this season, frankly. By a considerable margin. It has not been my season so far, so it's good to finally, do that and to do it VIR with the track that I normally have a bad result at. It's always something weird happening at VIR, and so I got finally have a normal race for one.
Yeah, absolutely. As I would agree, but one of the best result we've seen out of you in a while, and it's good to see you back up to the front. Next week we'll be in the Formula V's at Tsukuba, and obviously a much different type of a race there. Not really the room that you would you have out here, and it's going to make for some tight quarters. And if we have another 30+ car grid, that's going to make for some very, very close racing.
Yeah, so Tsukuba is, that we pretty wide at a couple of the key points on the track, particularly coming out of the final turn, going into turn one, really wide there. The problem is it gets very narrow after that, so it'll be really interesting to see if the field, and this season we're probably going to have a larger Formula V field than usual, so it'll be really interesting to see if we can keep it clean.
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you on track again next week. And but before letting you go, we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs.
Yeah, so I've got basically my personal race car in real life is gonna be up for sale. So if anybody interested in buying a real life pet racer Ford, they can get the one I've been driving. Reach out to me if you're interested. Obviously, everybody involved in the real life racing scene, those guys, the corner workers, the marshals, the tech people, everybody that volunteered in that. And again, if you're somebody who's interested in doing any of that and you don't know how to get started, I can get you in touch with the right people. Reach out to me for that too. You get to go see the racing in the real world, and for the most part, it's free. You just have to do a little volunteer work. The corner workers have a great view of the track. So yeah, definitely, shout out to all those guys. Appreciate all that. Appreciate God for putting on the broadcast. Given how exciting the finish is, I'm definitely gonna be watching this one back and see how that looks.
All right, Josh. Once again, thanks for stopping in. We'll see you next week.
Yep. All right, see you, man.
All right, see ya. And that was Josh Justice, our P4 finisher today. And Ron, that is the end of all the interviews.
Yeah, and that it is. And nearing the end of a broadcast, Charles, one that saw some pretty incredible racing. We can't say that we're shocked, though. We knew that we were going to be in for a pretty darn good race, and what we got was a pretty darn good race. Final thoughts before we wrap things up?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, shout out to Stevie Ray for setting the schedule the way it is. We've had some really, really good car track combos. And we've got a few more on the way, so this is not over yet. Obviously, just the 5th race out of 12. So, yeah, looking forward to what's coming down the pipe for the next time. And I just thought about this as we were doing interviews. We talked with Jim Brewster last week, and he said that Tam was coming into town. So he is not here today, so I don't know if that means that she's in town or not, but I just want to give them a quick shout out. Say hello to Jim and Tam. I'm sure that he'll come back and watch the broadcast at some point in time when he gets the opportunity. So we'll wrap up with that from my side.
Yeah, if Jim's not here to say hi, Tam, we will be here to say hi, Tam. So with that being said, I want to let you all know in confidence that there's a lot of action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting every single week. So it is far from over with the wrapping up of this broadcast. This upcoming week, we have got you covered all throughout. Round number 3 of the American Muscle Series will see the series head off to Naval Base Coronado, San Diego, the newest NASCAR street circuit. That'll be on Tuesday, July the 21st at 9 p.m. Eastern. And later on that night, you'll be able to see the next round of the Sim Racers Group F4 Championship. Shout out to Brian Szynski, who I think I saw in the YouTube chat a little bit earlier on, was able to capture his very first SRG win just this past week at Interlagos. You'll be able to catch Charles and I back together here in the commentary booth this upcoming Wednesday when the Street Nights Racing Sim Racing Series rocks up to Long Beach for round number 4, and then SRG F3 action will be at the Hungaroring later on that night. Next time you'll be able to catch this championship will be in 1 week's time when the series heads off to Tsukuba for the Formula Vs, and we hope to see you all there. Also stay tuned for Thursday. It's still up in the air as to whether or not the XMS Touring Car Championship will be starting this week or not, but if it does, you will be able to catch the action here all season long on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Never miss out on any of the racing action here on SMB by hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell, and if you're in the mood for some more action delivered in a slightly smaller format, happy to take a look at some of the YouTube shorts here up on the channel as well. But as for this broadcast here today for round number 5 of the Ray Esports Weekend Warriors Summer Shootout Series at VIR, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, and Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.